Hi, everyone. So good for everyone to join me this evening. My name is Charlotte Tross. Sorry, I'm moving my chair. Hi, I'm Charlotte Tross, and I will be leading our webinar this evening. So I'm really excited for you to join and be here with me. Thank you so much. So we'll get started in just a minute here. We're going to let a few more people jump on, and then we will get started today. So I'm opening the chat and putting it aside. Please feel free as we go through tonight's presentation to put questions in the chat. I absolutely love to hear from you and to know your questions so that I can help personalize this as much as possible. Because if there's one thing that I think is really important, it's that nutrition is individualized, that everyone has a different path to the wellness garden. And I really do try to personalize wherever I possibly can. So please don't be shy. Please feel free to reach out and put those questions right in the chat. Again, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I am so excited to be here. My name is Charlotte Tross. I'm the Director of Education for New Chapter. I am a board certified master herbalist, as well as a certified lactation specialist. I hold a certification in nutrition from Stanford University, and I've been with New Chapter for almost 9 years, and they have been a very happy 9 years. And we are based in Brattleboro, Vermont, so I'm coming to you from sunny and beautiful Brattleboro, Vermont this evening, and we've had some really nice weather as we've just started to get into that summery time of year, which really does feel good, right? So I am so excited to get started today and really just tap in to all of those crazy myths that you might be hearing about. So we'll get started in just 1 second. I want to make sure that we have everyone on. Ooh, yes, can citrus fruits such as grapefruits negatively interact with supplements? Absolutely, that is a true thing. And so it's not as true with certain supplements, but we can definitely talk about that. Thank you for that question. And we will definitely be talking about different foods that interact and things that can kind of like, really change the way that your supplementation is working when you take it. So thank you for that question. Absolutely. All right, let's get this myth busting party started. So do you guys remember in the 80s, one of my favorite movies when I was growing up was Ghostbusters? You guys remember Ghostbusters? Yes. Oh, you used to live in Colchester. So cool. So Ghostbusters was like the show. It was like the movie when I was growing up. And so when there was something strange in your neighborhood, who were you going to call? Ghostbusters. And when there's something weird going down in your supplement neighborhood, who are you going to call? I want you to call New Chapter, okay? And the only reason I say that is because there are certain myths, certain urban legends of nutrition, if you will, that somehow get around really fast. I blame TikTok, okay? But they get around and people start to buy into some really crazy ideas. So when you go to the supplement shelf, it can really look like this image here. Everything just kind of blends together and looks the same. And you really don't know how you can, really basically, pick between one or another, right? And so that's what we're going to help you do today is give you tips and tricks on how to avoid urban legends of the supplement industry while picking the right supplement for you. So let's get started. All right, so the whole food vitamin myth. All right, so let's kick this one off, right? So I know a lot of you have been probably hearing about multivitamins, right? And one of the biggest urban legends about multivitamins is, they don't work, right? How many of you have heard this, right? That multivitamins don't work, that they aren't good, that they don't do anything for you. And we hear this a lot, right? Yeah, okay, so that's first off, let's bust that myth right away. What we do know is that our food and our fruits and our vegetables are a lot less nutrient dense now than they were in the 1970s. And we know this because of farming techniques and farming practices have really robbed the soil of that nutrient richness that they've been having, for years. And again, we tend to grow for yield and not nutrition. So we're growing for very pretty fruits and vegetables, or we're growing for larger fruits and vegetables, but we don't really care how much vitamin C or vitamin A is in our vegetables, as long as it looks good, right? But that's not the function of food. And so we want to be really mindful of this, because our fruits and vegetables are less nutrient dense than before. We have to fill those nutritional gaps. And when you don't fill those nutritional gaps, that's when you can start to feel, off balance, really. So one of the things, like, again, nutrients that people tend to be deficient in, vitamin D, right? Now, luckily we're getting into the summertime. You're going to get some vitamin D from the sun. That's going to be lovely. I know we've all been waiting through this really long winter to get outside. But again, you have to make up for what you didn't get before. And the best way to do that is to start getting your body consistent supplementation, which is what the multivitamin does. It lays a really good foundation. But are all multivitamins created equal? Just like all meals are not created equal, all multivitamins are not created equal. And I'm sure you've heard of this phrase, whole food multivitamin, right? All right, so let's kick off this myth and see what we can say about it. So what happens is sometimes you'll look at a multivitamin and you'll turn it to the side and you'll see like an entire list, okay, like this one, of an organic fruit and vegetable blend, right? And here's what you think. You think, oh my gosh, this multivitamin has apples and beets and broccoli and ginger and green bell pepper and Brussels sprouts. And a lot of people think, you know what this means, right? I don't have to eat vegetables today. Try again, Johnny. Why? Because we have to really think about the way that our body utilizes and processes food, okay? So first of all, let's talk about the amount of food in this particular multivitamin, okay? So again, it sounds great, but when you look at the amount, what you're seeing is 20 milligrams. So let's put this into a perspective that I think you and I can really make sense of. If a raisin weighs 1 gram, okay, that's 1,000 milligrams, okay? So now I want you to cut that raisin up into 1,000 pieces. That tiny raisin, you're gonna cut it into 1,000 pieces, right? There's some pretty tiny pieces, all right? Those are pretty tiny pieces. And you get to have 20 of those super tiny pieces. So if you want to put this into fraction terms, 20 over 1,000, right? And that's the amount of quote unquote fruits and vegetables that you're going to get in that multivitamin. Do you think that you're getting much nutrition from this food powder? Because it is so small. It's like a powder at this point. How much nutrition does your body get from this food powder? Not much, right? I mean, it's not possible. I mean, I want you to think about the tiniest little piece of broccoli ever. How much nutrition are you going to get from broccoli? And broccoli is a really nutrient dense food from that tiny piece, because that's not the way, okay, to help get your nutrition balanced. So the myth starts here because you don't factor in digestion when you look at that tiny bit of food. When you look at 100 grams of spinach, okay, now 100 grams of spinach, remember 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams, all right? This is 100 grams of spinach, so a pretty nice size portion of spinach, okay? That has 2.1 to 2.7 milligrams of iron. There's going to be variation because there's natural variation in the way that things grow, okay? What do you actually absorb? Well, there's a study out there that says that you only get 2% of the iron that absorbs into your body. 2% of that 2.1 to 2.7 milligrams, 2% of that. That is like the tiniest amount ever. And that's from 100 grams of spinach. So what do you think 20 milligrams of spinach is going to give you? Right? Because that's not where the vitamin content is coming from. The only thing that's coming from that is the ability to put on the side of a label a long laundry list of fruits and vegetables. So is that going to give your body any benefit? I mean, as much as a tiny baby piece of broccoli would, right? When it comes to whole food vitamins, we want to know the difference so that we can understand what we're putting into our body. And that's really important when you look at supplementation, because a lot of times you will go to the store or to Healthy Planet. Thank you for having me, Healthy Planet. Really appreciate you. And you will look at a lot of different products and you'll be trying to figure out the ultimate question, right? Which one is right for me? So let's talk about some of the variations that you're going to see, and maybe we can help you find one that's going to fit your particular needs, right? Okay. So first is what I like to call the physical mix. Some vitamins, like we just saw on the past slide, are physically mixed. They're isolated nutrients, so ascorbic acid, vitamin C, cyanocobalamin, B12, and they put those nutrients that are in a daily allowance, okay, and they mix it, they physically mix it with a food powder. So you get a tiny bit of food powder mixed in with those nutrients, ta-da, multivitamin, okay? Now here's the thing. You're not gonna get much nutrition from the food powder, and those isolated nutrients are just that, isolated nutrients. So your body might find those hard to actually get nutrition from because your body has to break them down to utilize them. Now let's talk about another thing that we're seeing a lot of in the industry, and that's originally from food vitamins, okay? And this is where the whole food multivitamin gets another spin on it, which is, okay, sure, Charlotte, we have got vitamin C in our multivitamin, but ours is from oranges or amla or a different food source. Cool, like respect, really love that you're getting, you know, vitamins from food, but there's only one problem with that, which is that you're still extracting out a vitamin from food. You're not actually getting the benefit of that food. You're just taking the vitamin out of it. So what happens to the rest of the food? Because that seems kind of wasteful when you think about it. But anyway, the big thing is this. Let's talk about vitamins from foods. When you eat an orange, we know that oranges have vitamin C content, right? They're known for it. They also have this magical little thing called fiber, okay? And fiber is great when you're trying to absorb vitamins and minerals from actual foods because it slows down a couple of processes in your body, okay? It slows down your insulin response or your sugar response, okay, which is good. And it also helps to carry, fiber carries, you know, basically cholesterol out of your body as well. So it serves multiple functions. But in helping you to absorb actual nutrients, the cool thing about fiber is that it also helps your stomach to produce more stomach acid. And that helps to break down things better. But when you're taking small things in small amounts, let's say you're taking that bad boy on an empty stomach, you might not be getting as much benefit because you're only producing a tiny bit of acid to break that particular multivitamin down. And again, you're just getting it from food, those vitamins, nothing's actually been done to change the composition of them. So they're still isolated nutrients. They're just isolated from food. Now at New Chapter, we have a different way of doing this. We call it whole food fermented. And what I love about us at New Chapter is that we basically get started where everybody else stops. Everybody stops with the isolated nutrients and we say, hold on there, Turbo. We got more work to do here. Because what we want to do is we want to pre-break down those nutrients so your body can get as much as it can from it by utilizing and recognizing those nutrients in a different form. What form, you might ask? Okay, so this is where we get really cool. We use fermentation. So you guys are probably familiar with some of the healthiest foods out there that are, of course, fermented, like kombucha, right? Or sauerkraut, miso, wine. Yes, I totally threw that in there. These are some of the healthiest foods out there. Wine has resveratrol content, guys. That is amazing. Anti-aging gem, and also like end of the day gem. But what I love about fermentation is that it helps to break things down so that your body can utilize it in a different way. And when we ferment our multivitamins or our vitamins, individual vitamins for our multivitamins, it's no different. I'm going to show you how that works. So this is our fermentation process. I'm going to break this down and make it super simple. I want you to think of Pac-Man, okay? So you have Pac-Man, but we're going to call Pac-Man a different name. We're going to call Pac-Man Saccharomyces cerevisiae. It's a fancy name for brewer's yeast, guys. And brewer's yeast, again, super good, is really cool because what happens is we're going to put it into a broth, and then we're going to have, here's the ascorbic acid we were talking about, that vitamin C that we, other people just left off on. Now our ascorbic acid is going to get munched down on by the Saccharomyces, and ta-da, it gets incorporated into its cell structure. And because it gets incorporated into its cell structure, it takes on the form of the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. So now your body doesn't go, that's isolated vitamin C. It goes, oh my gosh, that is vitamin C rich Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which funnily enough, Saccharomyces cerevisiae in cell size and in cell composition is super close to human cell size and human composition. So your body really recognizes it, and that's pretty cool. So if you want to see this under an electron microscope, all you have to do is look at the left. That's isolated nutrients on their own. And then once it's incorporated into the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, it gets incorporated and you can see the actual structure changes. I mean, take a look at iron, right? That iron looks like little fists, right? And those little fists are just fighting their way through your body because, hello, typical iron causes constipation, right? Nobody likes that. So the thing is that we definitely know that when you ferment it, it puts it into a form that your body can utilize and recognize. And guess what? Not so likely to cause constipation. Pretty cool. So I think we can safely say, and I want you to say it with me, that whole food vitamin myth is busted because food powders in small amounts don't make sense, but fermentation does. So make sure that you're really checking out those whole food multis and saying that they're putting them into a form that your body can utilize and recognize in the new chapter. But wait, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, do herbs and certain botanicals act the same as other foods? Well, let's talk about this. Okay, so you're going to make spaghetti at your house, right? So you're making spaghetti, and you have decided that you are going to use these really beautiful organic heirloom tomatoes. Congratulations, it's going to be amazing. Would you use basil and oregano in the same ratio as your tomatoes? No, of course not. That would be like pesto, and then you'd be mixing some flavors that probably wouldn't go over very well. But hold on here. There's a really good thing that we're getting at, which is, how do you season your food? You season your food with small amounts of herbs and spices because they're very powerful and very potent. And that's because they have different phytochemicals within them that make them very powerful and make them very potent and make them unlike other foods. If you need an example from this, I want you to think about cayenne pepper, okay? If you put a very tiny amount of cayenne pepper on the tip of your tongue, you will have a whole body reaction, right? That is the power of herbs in action. So whereas 20 milligrams of broccoli, you may not be getting very much nutrition from that, you put 20 milligrams of different types of herbs and spices, and it does a really cool phytochemical signaling that your body may actually have different types of support to different types of systems because of that signaling. And that's the really cool power of herbs. One of the reasons that I really love being a master herbalist is because small amounts of herbs make big differences. So just like you want to season your food carefully, you definitely want to be picking your herbs carefully. So I hope that helps to clear that up. And we are going on to our next myth. Okay, so the next myth I want to talk to you about is more is more. Okay, we love this myth. Everybody loves this myth because 5 scoops of ice cream is better than 1 scoop of ice cream, right? We all kind of got this logic when we were kids. We know what's going on. But should we always think that more weight means more efficacy? Well, now we've grown up a little bit, right? We've grown up a little bit. And we know that a filet mignon is a lot different than the grade D beef you might see at some buffet. I know you guys don't do that in Canada. You have amazing beef in Canada. But here in the United States, there are actually some restaurants that use certain type of silica in our meats to get a granular appearance. I won't tell you which restaurant it is, but yeah, we do that. So we can't always compare apples to apples. Just because it's both types of meat doesn't mean that they're equal. One is obviously of a higher quality, and the same can be said for supplementation. More weight does not always mean a better supplement. And yet one of the fallacies that happens in the nutritional supplement aisle is people will pick up a product, turn to the side and go, well, this one has 100 milligrams and this one has 50. So this one is obviously better. I don't want you to make that same mistake. So we're going to bust this myth right now. All right. One of my favorites is when we talk about that vitamin C that we were talking about earlier. 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. We want 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. We want the biggest, baddest vitamin C out there, right? I totally hear it. But here's the problem with that. Your body can only take in between 200 to 250 milligrams of vitamin C at a time. Linus Pauling, who was one of the largest proponents of high-dose vitamin C, said in 1974 that the first 250 milligrams is more important than any of the later 250 milligrams because the first 250 milligrams leads to your blood saturation. And that means that your blood is actually getting the vitamin C and you're actually able to utilize it. So should we be taking 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C all at once? No, because it's incrementally wasted after that first 250. Sure, you get a little bit, but guess what? You don't get much else because your body can't actually utilize it. So we want to be taking vitamin C in responsible dosages. But here's another myth, and I'm totally going to blow your mind with this one. Do you know what competes with vitamin C to get into your white blood cells? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that would be sugar. Ding, ding, ding. And yet one of the foods that so many people turn to for vitamin C is orange juice, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, orange juice has vitamin C. That's so good. But it's competing with your sugar that's going into the juice because the juice doesn't have that fiber anymore to slow down that sugar response. So your body's getting a high dose of sugar and it may be getting a high dose of vitamin C, but you can't use it. So now we want to definitely be taking our vitamin C without the additional sugar to help our body utilize it. We also want to be taking it in a responsible 200 to 250 milligram dosage. If you're really looking to support consistent vitamin C levels, taking 1,000 all at once isn't the way to do it. You would start by taking maybe 200 to 250 in your multivitamin at the beginning of your day. It's a great way to lay your foundation for your day. But as you start getting into the afternoon, guess what? Your body's used that. So you know what we should do? Yeah, we could totally take another vitamin C that's about 200 to 250 milligrams and keep our bloodstream consistent with that nutrition. What people don't realize is that our bodies, they love safety. They love when we make our patterns consistent. We love routine, but nothing loves routine more than your body, right? Because routine tells your body, it's cool, I got this, right? When you give your body consistent nutrition, your body starts to de-stress. Because if you're not giving your body consistent nutrition, what happens is that your body goes, wait a minute, are you coming back with that? I could really use that. Could you come back with that? It's kind of like when you're trying to get your waiter's attention and they keep going back and forth and you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Wait a minute, hold on. It's like really stressful, but your body's doing that all the time with food, okay? So I think that that's a really important thing to realize. So again, yes, there are certain types of time-release vitamin C, but those can be actually compromised by other supplements that you may be taking. So hold on, I'm gonna press pause on that for just a second, and I will come back to that. So just hold on there for a second. So again, I think we can see that taking vitamin C consistently and the right dosage is going to be really important, which is why at New Chapter, if you look at our multivitamin line, you're going to see all of our multivitamins have responsible dosage of vitamin C that your body can utilize and have access to without mega dosing, because more doesn't always mean more. But it's not just with vitamin C, it's also with another supplement that a lot of people are really turning to the health food store or to Healthy Planet for, which is calcium, okay? So we've all heard this, it's 1,000 milligrams of calcium with 500 milligrams of magnesium, and that's going to be really effective, helping to support your calcium levels. There's a problem with this, okay? Here's the problem. The recommended calcium intake for adults is usually between 1,000 to 1,400 milligrams per day. Sometimes it's 1,500 milligrams, depends on the person. Your average diet supplies about 500 to 700 milligrams of calcium. So then you only really need to supplement the remaining 500 to 900 milligrams that you need. And here's why you don't want to go overboard, okay? We were talking about vitamin C earlier, and vitamin C is a water-soluble nutrient, okay? So because it's a water-soluble nutrient, your body utilizes what it can, and then it flushes out the rest. So if you take too much vitamin C, the worst thing you're gonna come out with is maybe a little diarrhea if you go super overboard usually, okay? But, all right, I'm not encouraging anyone to take too much vitamin C. I just have to say that medical disclaimer, don't like overdo it on purpose. But calcium and minerals work differently in your body because your body stores calcium, okay? When you take too much calcium, your body will store it. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, that is awesome because it's going to store it in my bones and that's where I need it. No, that is not where your body is going to store calcium, because when you take too much and it can't get to your bones where you need it, or maybe it can shuttle some of it to your bones and you have some left over, guess where it puts it? Into your arteries. And that's why there's several large credible studies out there that show a higher risk of heart attack in both men and women who take calcium supplements, especially over 1,200 milligrams per day of calcium. So it's really important to remember how your body utilizes these different supplements, and also that you have certain cofactors to really help your body utilize and absorb calcium efficiently. This is why at New Chapter we make Bone Strength Take Care, which is on sale right now at Healthy Planet. So you can please feel free to go and try Bone Strength Take Care for yourself. What I love about Bone Strength Take Care is, first of all, it's sourced from sustainable lithophamian algae, which is a type of plant calcium. So again, love that. A lot of calciums out there come from limestone rock. We do not do that. The next thing is that it's also a really easy to swallow tablet, but one of my favorite parts of Bone Strength Take Care is that it has K2 and D3 in it, okay? And K2 is like the magic. Again, if you take nothing away from this lecture this evening, if you take nothing else but this, please take this with you. If you are going to take any calcium product whatsoever, please make sure you take it with K2. Vitamin K2 acts as a traffic director to help calcium get to your bones where you need it and away from your arteries where you don't need it. Now, D3 helps it to absorb into your bones, but K2 is really where the magic is at. So again, you know what? I love New Chapter. I love that we include this in our bone strength formula. But if you are in the market for another calcium, I understand. That's okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings. You have to make the right choice for you. But do me a solid. Look for K2, okay? All right. Another one with the more is more myth comes with fish oils a lot, okay? So again, in the United States, we have this prescription fish oil. It's a prescription omega-3 called Lavazza, okay? So Lavazza is what we call a really high dose fish oil. And a lot of times people take it because they want to try and balance their cholesterol levels. So while cholesterol, sorry, excuse me for just a second. Okay, sorry about that. So why people take it is because they want to balance their cholesterol levels usually. But what happens is when you're taking a really high dosage is, guess what? You don't actually reach balance. What happens is that while your triglycerides may be lowered, LDL cholesterol levels may actually increase when taking that high of an amount of omega-3 fatty acids. So again, people don't realize that when you're talking about fish oil, it's not just about high dosages, it's also about balance, okay? And this is why I really love our omega fish oil. Now, here's the thing. Is it the highest EPA, DHA, Dpa, all the other types of acids that you may be looking for? No, it's not. Because do you know what it is? It's the ratios that are naturally found within wild Alaskan salmon. Okay? We don't concentrate it. We're not like, oh my gosh, we have to like do this thing where, and they literally do this with fish oil. They like break apart the glycerin backbone and then they mega like Frankenfish it and put a lot more omega-3s back on it to make you super powerful, super potent omega-3s. And that's not the natural ratio that's actually found within fish. And so again, we just are staying with at New Chapter, our omega really just stays within the balance of what's happening within fish naturally. And I know what you're saying. You're like, okay, but Charlotte, if that high dose fish oil works, you know, I kind of got to go with it. And I feel you on that. But what if I told you that omega with its natural ratios, without being high heat processed, was able to lower triglyceride levels by 8.5% in just 2 weeks, and it kept that omega-6 to omega-3 ratio more balanced. That's incredible, right? And we didn't need to frankenfish it to get there. We just followed the wisdom of nature. It's what we're known for at New Chapter. So this is our whole mega fish oil. You can definitely find this on the Healthy Planet website for, again, it is on sale. And so we'll actually talk a little bit more about this later, but I think we can safely say that the myth of weight is the most effective thing to look for on the side of a nutrition facts panel is just busted, right? Done. So again, how much whole mega would you recommend for someone with rheumatoid arthritis? I totally appreciate that question. Thank you. I am not allowed as an agent of the company to recommend anything larger than the dosage that's on the side of the box. So again, I totally understand that sometimes people work with their doctors in order to take different dosages, and I would highly suggest that if that's something that you're interested in, that you definitely take a look at that. Because as an agent of the company, I just can't tell you to go over that side of the box. So I would tell you to take the 2 per day that we have on the side of the box. All right. Now, here's where I'm going to throw a curveball, okay? Remember how with multivitamins, we were talking about absorption being really important? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So the crazy thing about absorption is that, is it always better? Is more always better when you're talking about absorption too, right? Because you're like, wait a minute, Charlotte, like we said, absorption was the key. Totally is. You want good absorption. But what happens if you get too much absorption all at once? Let's find out. One of the reasons that New Chapter that we choose beta carotene over a retinol source of vitamin A is because what happens when you get too much retinol. So what happens is that retinol is a converted form of vitamin A. And so with beta carotene, your body is kind of like a car and you are driving along and your brakes work. That is a really good thing, right? You want your brakes to work on your car, right? Totally. And you want that with your vitamin A too, because you don't want to convert too much at once. Cool thing is your body is super smart and that you're only going to convert as much beta carotene as you need. And then you're going to store what you don't need for when you need to convert, which is what beta carotene is known for. But retinol, it's like driving a car without brakes. Your body's just going to take it because it's converted form and it just says, all right, let's do this. Okay. And the problem is that vitamin A is not a water soluble nutrient like vitamin C and vitamin B. It's a fat soluble nutrient. So you can actually get toxic levels within your body. So it's important that your body only converts what it actually needs at that particular point. And retinol is a good source that your body will absorb. But the question is, do you want the brakes or not? I think we can all say yes. So absorption, while awesome, can also be dangerous when you're talking about, fat soluble nutrients. Now, people often ask me, but Charlotte, what about vitamin D? Vitamin D is fat soluble, and we see that in some larger dosages now. Thank you, Health Canada. And I totally get that. So vitamin D is a little bit different because a lot of us, especially Canadians or us Northerners in the United States, tend to miss out on sunshine, or we wear these pesky things called clothes, and that blocks our ability to get enough vitamin D. And ladies, I know you've probably all heard this, and men probably too, because we're really responsible like this now, which is wear sunscreen, right? Everybody should be wearing sunscreen, but even an SPF 15 blocks vitamin D production by 99%. So again, if you're going out, you're being responsible with your skin and you are blocking that vitamin D, then you could probably use a little bit more. And so again, we're seeing this kind of as a trend. So definitely respecting the amounts that we definitely put into our supplements at New Chapter, because again, we formulate with intention. That not only comes with our vitamin A, but also with our vitamin D and any other fat soluble nutrients that you'll find. So I think we can agree that more is definitely a busted myth, but smart expert formulation for supplementation is key. So probiotics is another area where we tend to see a lot of myths around. Probiotic power is usually associated with more strains, more bacterial count. We want more. And didn't we just Did we not just do the more is more busted myth? But probiotics are a little different, right? People are like, well, I don't know. You want live bugs and you definitely want more of them. Because when you think about your microbiome is this giant cosmos within. And as you explore this giant cosmos within, you think that you might be putting just like a pin drop of bacteria in, and how much is that really going to make a difference? But the truth is, if you're using the right kind of bacteria, it makes quite a big difference. So let's see what that looks like. These are 3 different supplement facts panels in the probiotic space. And I think that what we can see is these long laundry lists of different types of probiotic blends that are out there. Once you blend probiotics together, you cannot separate them back out. Okay, it does not work that way. And if they're live probiotics, then you're kind of in a little bit of a pickle, because how much Lactobacillus breve are you getting? How much Lactobacillus acidophilus? And P.S. Lactobacillus acidophilus is cheaper than some of the more exotic probiotic strains that are out there. So again, we're really trying to understand what we're getting when we're getting a probiotic supplement, right? And I think it's really important to understand. So we're going to throw it back to science class. You guys remember biology class? If you don't, and if you thought it was boring, I'm going to like change your mind right now, because I think science is so cool. So when you're looking at that laundry list of bacteria, what you're looking at is a different type of class system, okay? So basically you're looking at the kingdom of bacteria, and then you see how it breaks it down into the phylum, the class, the subclass, the order, the family, the genus, right? In order to share the same species, which is what is listed on the side of the label for probiotics, you have to have a DNA match of 97%, okay? And you're like, whoa, that is pretty good, right? That's pretty good, Tross. I like that. 97% in school is an A. So that must be pretty great, right? What if I told you that humans and chimpanzees share 99% DNA match? Do you think that 1% DNA difference makes a difference? You bet it does. Now I want you to think about what a 3% difference would look like. Yep, that's exactly why we want and should demand from our probiotic 100% DNA match. But how do we know we're getting it? That's why we've got to look for strain-specific probiotics. So if you look on the left-hand side, you can see there's B. breve and B. breve BR03. So B. breve BR03 is a strain specific, which means that it is 100% DNA match to clinical research, which is definitely what you're looking for when you're looking for probiotic. And when you look at the one from New Chapter, which is in our probiotic alt flora, we use 2 different strains, which are strain specific. And when these 2 were put together, they work together really well, because here's the crazy part, right? When you go to work, all right, you have people that you work really well with, right? Okay, they're like your bestie. And whenever you're around them, you're more productive and you get more done. And that's an awesome place to be, right? That's exactly what's happening with these 2 bacterial strains. But not all bacterial strains work together like this. So again, when you're looking at probiotics, it's important to note those bacteria are playing nicely together, just like they did in this particular research study, which showed that when you took the LPO1 and the BR03 together, in just a count of 5 billion apiece, because that's what the research said. Wait a minute, did you say 5 billion? Because I was told like 50 billion or 100 billion, right, was needed in order to support your digestive system. 5 billion of each of these 100% DNA verified strains was able to improve digestion, lower inflammation markers, and help with overall digestive health. I mean, that's fantastic, right? Isn't that what you're looking for in a probiotic? And did you need 50 billion to get there? You did not. So I think the probiotic power in high number of strains and bugs is definitely a myth. So probiotics need clinical testing to determine the dosages and the efficacy. So look for strain specification, as well as those dosages that match research. All right. Now, I am digging you because I know you care about our planet, right? I care about the planet very deeply. Some of our finest work at New Chapter is done on our ability to support both people and planet. It's one of the reasons that we're a B Corp, but it's also one of the reasons that we are one of the leaders in helping to advocate for regenerative agriculture. As we advocate for our planet, we definitely care about sustainability of our oceans. So how can we know if the fish oil we are taking is truly sustainable? And you're going to see my favorite fish, my brother from another fish mother, is krill. And you know what? Krill has some really incredible research on it. It really does. I mean, krill oil really kind of took over the fish oil scene for a while because it has a natural astaxanthin content. And again, it's got amazing clinical research on it. And we just learned that clinical research is really important when you're trying to get results, right? Absolutely. But I mean, we have to really kind of acknowledge what's happening with our oceans right now. I mean, because when most fish oils are made from Pacific sardines, Peruvian anchovies, or krill, we have to acknowledge that Pacific sardine numbers are crashing. We had 1.8 million metric tons in 2006, and that's whittled down to 27,000 metric tons in 2019. The number has only gone down from there. And unfortunately, Peruvian anchovies are also highly exploited. And yet, you know, there are a lot of fishermen who really depend upon the anchovy for their living, but they also know that there was a high influx of what we call juvenile fish. So when a fisherman catches a juvenile fish, it's like a baby fish, and they're supposed to not keep it, they're supposed to throw it back. But what the fishermen were finding was that there were so many baby fish and no actual fish. So sometimes people were getting desperate and keeping the juvenile fish. And this actually caused the fishermen to march and protest in Peru because they wanted the ending of the fishing season to be early to protect the juvenile fish, because they knew that if the juvenile fish were overfished, what was going to happen is they weren't going to have enough fish next year. And as fishermen, they also knew it was their responsibility to protect their future. So they marched all the way to Chimbote in protest, and they closed the fishing season early. But then when they opened the fishing season back up, they allowed almost twice the total allowable catch of the year before. So again, our oceans need our help. And nowhere is this seen more than also with krill. So there was a Greenpeace study on Antarctic krill fishing over 5 years, and they showed that all of these fishing was occurring near penguin colonies and whale feeding grounds. So truthfully, when you are taking krill oil, you're kind of stealing food from a baby penguin. So that doesn't really sit well with me. But again, we also have to recognize what's happening within our planet overall right now. So unfortunately, our oceans are warmer now than they ever have been. And because of the rising CO2 levels that are happening within our oceans, that actually may lead to what we call ocean acidification. And what happens is that when ocean acidification happens, krill embryos don't develop properly, which could eventually result in diminished stocks. And because of our warmer oceans, Antarctic krill could actually lose between 20 and 50% of their habitat by the end of the century. So once again, our oceans definitely need our help. So where can you source sustainable fish oil? And the answer is Alaska. So written into the Alaskan Constitution are certain parameters on sustainability, and no finned fish farming is allowed in Alaska. I'm so proud of myself for saying that. No finned fish farming is allowed in Alaska. So they don't allow fish farms. And that's really, really important. I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute for a sustainability point of view, but also from a health perspective. New Chapter is a bold company. And one of the reasons I feel really proud to work for New Chapter is because we only make one type of fish oil. Now, I want you to think about this, right? Are there other companies out there who make a wild-lasting fish oil? Absolutely, 100%. They are totally out there. We applaud them. Thank you for using the sustainable fish. But we're the only ones who only make wild-lasting salmon oil from a fish source. And that's because that's the only one we feel is truly sustainable. And we think that makes us different because, again, we could go out and buy anchovy oil or krill oil and put the New Chapter label on it and sell it tomorrow. It wouldn't make us ethical. And we really want to protect both people and planet. Super important to us at New Chapter. And we're not willing, I mean, we are totally willing to sacrifice profit for that because planet is more important. When we talk about finfish farming, that's actually a really big key because we see farm salmon quite a lot. And again, farm salmon is cheaper than wild Alaskan salmon. And people are like, potato, potato, salmon, salmon, right? Do not be fooled by this, my friend, because farmed salmon is truly unsustainable for multiple reasons. First of all, it's lower in the nutrients that you would get from salmon. Two is, okay, I want you to imagine a bunch of people living in a very small space. So in the room that you're in right now, I want you to cram in like 50 to 100 people. Okay, you're all gonna live in that room. What's gonna happen? Okay, it's not gonna be good, right? Because if any of you are even slightly sick with a cold or a virus, everybody in that room is gonna get it. Plus, your food sources are gonna be limited because, again, how are you going to get food? You're only going to be what's given to you, and you're going to be denied your natural food sources of fruits and vegetables because people are just going to be shoving crackers under the door. It's going to be bad, right? So you're not going to be very healthy. It's the same thing that happens with farmed salmon. These are not healthy fish, okay? In fact, because they're denied their natural food source, they are denied the thing that makes them that pinkish red color that you see on the right-hand side. So how are they colored? Because if they're being denied their natural food source, which contains astaxanthin, which P.S. you also find in krill, how would they get pink? Well, they color them with artificial dyes. And that's not good. The other thing is that salmon, or the first food in the United States, yay, to be approved for a genetic modification, and they crossed a salmon with an eel because eel is a long, meaty fish, and the salmon, of course, needs more meat on its bones, right, folks? So we're going to cross that, and yeah, that's totally approved for human consumption right now. And that just sounds like the front of a horror movie. Again, we talked about Frankenfish before, but like seriously, it's happening. What I love about wild salmon is not only sustainable, but it's higher in those nutrients. There's no artificial coloring. And as you can see on the right-hand side, you can definitely see that, that coloring happening because that's actually one of the color panels that they use to help determine the color of farmed fish, how many pellets of color you would put into the feedstock so that you could produce the farmed salmon. The other thing is that you'll sometimes see what we like to call greenwashing. Okay, greenwashing is where something's pretending to be more sustainable than it actually is. And how can you recognize that? And that's by exploring what it takes to get certain certifications for sustainability. We love the Certified Sustainable Alaskan Fisheries Management Certification because, like I said, Alaska does not allow farmed fin fish fishing. So other certifications that do allow sustainability certifications to go onto farmed salmon are out there. We just don't believe in those in New Chapter because we don't believe that farmed salmon is a sustainable practice, especially because of, are you ready for this? Sea lice. Yes. Yes, your friend from grade school is back, my friends, but in a horrible way. Sea lice is just like what would happen in your, your third or fourth grade classroom. Everybody's in a classroom, one person has lice, it spreads all over the place. Same thing happens with the salmon, only the salmon get infected, they can't go anywhere. So guess what we got to do? We have to pump them full of antibiotics and pesticides. Yes, folks, that's how we make salmon that are in farm situations safe from sea lice. And that's what can happen. So again, be mindful. Wild Alaskan salmon is truly a sustainable choice. And we know from seeing the slides earlier that even in the dosages that are provided by the natural amount that you're finding in the fish that we just press and put into Omega, you are able to see those heart health markers be more balanced. And we love that. Okay, so again, we really love the sustainability of the wild Alaskan fish and being able to provide that to our customers. All right, so the sustainable fish myth is certainly busted, 100%. Curcumin and turmeric are the same. Oh, yuck, this is a terrible myth. The curcumin and turmeric can be interchangeable. Is this accurate? No, do not fall for this. You are way smarter than this right now because we have been through a lot together. I think we both can agree. This is not a potato-potato situation. Curcumin is isolated out from whole turmeric, okay? It is one constituent, one part of the turmeric plant, okay? So here's the thing, all right? We hate when people do this to people, right? When you just say, oh my gosh, she is a really fast typist. I bet that's the best thing that you can possibly say about her. She's amazing. She's so good at typing, right? It's not about you. That's one part of you. You're capable of doing that. So good. But at the same time, there's hundreds and millions of other things about you that make you unique and special and different. And botanicals and plants are the same thing. You can't just take one part of it out and say, that's the only part that matters. And yet people do this with the beautiful turmeric plant all the time. They say curcumin is the only part of that matters because that has a lot of research on it. Research is important. But what we also like to talk about is the wisdom of nature and the cofactors that exist within plants as a whole. And turmeric has amazing cofactors because one of the things that you've probably heard is that curcumin isn't very easily absorbed by your body. But did you know one of the things that can help your body absorb curcumin is found within the turmeric plant? Truth. And yet people throw it away because that's not what they're looking for, right? What we know is that poor absorption from curcumin can have different kinds of effects on your body. When you take high doses of isolated curcumin, sometimes people have experienced rashes, hives, gastrointestinal issues, stomachache, nausea, diarrhea, all kinds of issues, because again, you're putting your body into a situation where you would get so much curcumin that you would never actually be able to eat enough turmeric in one sitting to get that level of curcumin. And it's insane. Like some of the ones that we're seeing now, you would have to eat almost a whole room full of turmeric in order to get that amount of curcumin into your bloodstream. That's insane because that sounds like a really pharmaceutical approach to it to me. And again, you know, turmeric has a natural beauty and extracts are super cool, right? You get concentration that way, but aren't you missing something if you just take the curcumin? Yeah, you're missing tumerics. Tumerics are naturally existing within the turmeric plant in the fat-soluble parts of the plant. Now there's water-soluble and then there's fat-soluble parts of the plant. That's why a new chapter uses two different extraction methods so that you get the best of both worlds in our whole plant turmeric force. So another reason that I really love it, remember that absorption question I got at the beginning, like, are there things that impedes your absorption? Yes. And one of the big bad boys for time release is piperine. So piperine is an extract of black pepper. Okay. And basically what happens is that it forces your body to absorb things faster. Now, again, you think with curcumin that makes sense because your body's going to absorb curcumin and that's got to be a good thing, right? But here's the problem with it. Anything else that's in your stomach at the same time is also going to absorb faster. And that's why piperine can interact with certain medications. And again, there's a lot of people out there who just take a handful of pills in the morning and they don't really concentrate on what could be reacting. So make sure you're keeping a really big eye out for piperine because it could be interacting with time-release medications, and that's something you definitely want to be checking with your doctor on. And you don't need black pepper for absorption if you have the natural constituents that you find naturally within the turmeric plant. So let's just do this the natural way, right? Makes sense. So again, piperine causes that, again, absorption to be escalated. And again, that can reduce time-release medications. And there's a lot of time-release medications that are out right now, but also time-release supplements as well. I also want you to be on the lookout for Dlpa in your turmeric supplements, okay? Dlpa is also known as D-L-phenylalanine, okay? And it is a type of synthetic amino acid. So Dlpa acts as a pain blocker. So a lot of times what we'll see is turmeric products and they are associated with balancing inflammation within the body. Again, respect. There's a lot of research out there about turmeric and inflammation. But what we know is that Dlpa is blocking your pain receptors. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've ever injured yourself, let's say that you're running and you tripped off the edge of a curb. Yes, I've done that. I'm super graceful. And you sprained your ankle, okay? Now let's say that you take something and you can no longer feel that pain and you think to yourself, you know, I got this half marathon I'm training for. I think I'll just keep running on that bad boy. You're more likely to be more injured, okay? Pain is a signal from the body and it tells us that something is wrong. We need to slow down, okay? So blocking pain like this, that's not necessarily a good thing, but also it can cause a numbing feeling. Do you know another place where we would find DLPA? Diet Coke. You ever met someone with like a 40-a-day Diet Coke habit? And they're like, oh man, it's the caffeine. It's not the caffeine, it's the DLPA, because the DLPA numbs you out. And if you're under a lot of stress, you're trying to kind of numb your body out from that stress response or from any response, DLPA can do that too. So it's a good thing to keep an eye out for because you deserve to know what's in your supplements and how it works. So another question I get a lot of time is there a big difference between dried turmeric powder that you would find on the, store in, just like your spice cabinet, or, a dried turmeric powder or a turmeric extract that you would find in a capsule? Yeah, there's a huge difference, not just the price, but also what's in it. At New Chapter, remember how I was telling you we have two different extraction methods? Turmeric powder that you find as a spice isn't an extraction. It's certainly not a supercritical extraction. What happens is that we do use a water extraction to get the water soluble parts of the plant. But then to get those tumerones, we use supercritical extraction, which is where CO2, which is a clean way of saying carbon dioxide, is pushed through the herb, and it takes all the oleoresinous, or the oily parts of the plant out. You mash that together with the water and you get a full spectrum turmeric product without any harsh chemical solvents. Because yes, in order to get curcumin out, sometimes people use 1,2-dichloroethane, which is a known human carcinogen. And yes, it doesn't matter how much you say you take out of it, there's always traces of it behind. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because if you're making a really big healthy stew, you wouldn't put 2 drops of gasoline in it right before you served it up, right? It doesn't make any sense. And yet we see this with extraction methods sometimes, that people use these harsh chemical solvents, and we don't do that in New Chapter. We also make sure that we use HPTLC, which is a type of identification, to make sure that our plant identification is where it should be, so that your turmeric is definitely turmeric, and that your oregano is definitely oregano and not marjoram. If you've ever grown those right next to each other, they look remarkably similar, and even herbalists can have trouble telling things apart. So we also have to use different identification markers, but we're also looking for different types of markers to show the virility of the plant or the strength of the plant. Again, this is another way we help science inform our choices at New Chapter, so that you are getting one of the highest quality turmerics out there, and you're getting that full spectrum benefit, and you're getting the water soluble and the fat soluble parts of the plant. So I think we can safely say that curcumin and turmeric are not the same, and that you want to experience turmeric in all of its botanical glory by keeping those plants together. And Turmeric Force is fantastic because it does just that, and it's also on sale right now for Healthy Planet. So again, I just want to thank you so much for being here this evening. I have had a fantastic time myth busting with you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. So please feel free to put any personal queries or any informational questions that you have into the chat, and I would be happy to answer them for you if I possibly can. I don't know everything, but I do love talking about supplements and helping people to, really navigate those supplement shelves in a way that's personally beneficial for them. So happy to do that if you have any questions right now. If you don't have any questions right now, I'm not trying to put any pressure on you. You can reach out. Of course, Healthy Planet has a really knowledgeable staff that's able to help you as well. And on top of that, you can go to the Healthy Planet and find New Chapter supplements on sale right now and experience these supplements for yourself. So I'm super excited to see that. I see we have another Q&A, so I'm gonna pop that up again. I missed this podcast. Will there be a transcript sent by Healthy Planet? Lucy, you are in luck because we have actually been recording this entire session. So I am so excited that it will be available for you for later. So please feel free to tune in. And if you do have questions, you can tune them towards Healthy Planet, or you can always reach us at New Chapter. We are happy to answer your questions. You can go to the New Chapter website, and we have customer service agents and product experts on site to help answer your questions and help you make the right choice for you. Great. Is there any other questions I can help with this evening? Well, I just want to take a moment of gratitude to say thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for taking an active interest in your health. And thank you for listening. And I hope that you found something interesting about this evening. And I hope that I was able to personalize this for you and help you find your own path to that wellness garden. Again, thank you so much for being here with me this evening. It was an absolute pleasure. And I am so grateful. Have a great evening. Thanks so much. Thank you for being here. Thanks so much for coming. Oh, it was so good to see everyone. And I hope that you go to Healthy Planet. I missed the first part. Where can I find this session again? I believe Healthy Planet will be sending it out. So keep your eyes peeled. I'm sure they will be able to help you find this session. But again, thank you for being here. Have a great night.